What an epic final for a freaking season. Superman and Lois Season 3 Episode 13 delivered. This episode was pretty amazing and probably had some of the best Superman action we've had in a long time. And the episode was even titled, What Kills You Only Makes You Stronger, which is a direct nod with what they did with Bizzaro, and I think that's pretty cool. So let's jump into my breakdown for the final episode of Superman and Lois, as well as talking about some of the Season 4 plot points. Welcome to NonStopAntonio, where I talk about everything nerdy. I love Marvel, DC, and anime, and if you do too, I hope you enjoy this video. So like I said, this episode did a great job leading us into Season 4. However, I think it did too well of a job, because of the fact that a lot of this stuff isn't going to get carried over because they're cutting the cast and cutting the episodes, which means we're pretty much just going to focus on Clark, Lois, Jordan, Jonathan this next season, and not the rest of the side characters, because a lot of them have been cut from being in the show or being series regulars, which does not help that they set up a lot of plot points for each individual one, and now they're going this route. However, Lex Luthor is going to make one amazing villain for the next season. I can't believe what they did with his character, and I think he does such a good job at being this evil person. It's also freaking amazing that they brought in Doomsday. I knew it was happening, so we're going to talk about that during the breakdown. The CGI was pretty decent for CW standards, and honestly, this was a way better Doomsday look than they did in Batman v Superman. I just wish the season didn't end mid-fight, but we'll get more into that when we get to the breakdown. Overall, it was a solid final, and I wish we had more. I hate that we now have to wait for either a year or more to get the final season, because I'm assuming Season 4 will be the last. Now, before we get into the really good stuff of the episode with Bizzaro and Lex Luthor, let's just jump into the side characters and where they're going to be for Season 4, and, where their stories could potentially go if something changes between now and Season 4. Especially because, like I said earlier, they are cutting a lot of the cast. The cool thing about this episode, too, is they jumped 32 days just to kind of give us a time jump for Lex Luthor to be more of a threat, and also just give us a nice interlude to where all the characters are at now. Chrissy is now pregnant with Kyle's child, and so shockingly enough, Lana and the girls are completely okay with it. Kyle even proposes by the end of the episode, which just seems way too soon, but Chrissy did say yes. However, with their characters also being cut from next season, I doubt we'll see that baby at all. Then we got Lana and John getting closer, they hook up, and it's going down a comic book route, because in the comics, both Lana Lang and John Henry Irons are together. But again, another thing they set up for the next season where both characters are probably not going to show up at all or only once in a while, which is definitely really annoying because I like their chemistry there and I wanted to see it blossom a little bit more, especially because we had John Henry Irons going over to Metropolis now to work with the DOD and be more part of that and make cool tech gadgets for them. However, sending him off to Metropolis is a good excuse for not seeing him a lot anymore. Now that I'm 4 minutes into this video, I should probably turn on the lights behind me. There we go. I really liked how Clark finally sat down with Jordan too to be like, hey, if you're using your powers to help people, that is good, but you shouldn't be using them to gain all this fame and glory, because that's not what you're meant to be. You're not meant to use these powers for your own selfish needs. You should be using them to help the world around you. And I like how that kind of hit home with him, because then they also give him shit for still being a dick to Sarah. And it makes him kind of see the light of day, because he's been angry at her for really no reason. He's been angry at her how he felt originally, and he doesn't feel the same way he once he did, and he's kind of making up things to go forward to get mad at her. It's the only way he's able to cope with those feelings. And I like by the end that he apologizes to her and saying that they can't be friends right now until he kind of heals from it, which makes a lot of sense. Gives him time to give space, and also makes it that we probably won't see her a lot next season either. So another setup for Season 4 for seeing less Sarah. And we even think that Sam gets a girlfriend and he's going to be moving on. That's probably why we won't see him much next season. However, then she kidnaps him because he's secretly working for Lex Luthor, which is typical. Sam's not allowed to be happy, but he did get kidnapped, and we didn't get that resolved at all by the end of the episode. So by the time next season starts, I'm kind of curious if they're going to kill Sam off, if they're going to have him appear in the first episode somehow, because the actor did say he wasn't coming back once he was reduced from not being a series regular anymore. I don't really like the idea of them just killing him off, but I do feel like that's going to be the direction they go in, because Lex Luthor is trying to go after Lois, and it would make sense for him to kill her father. But we'll see what happens when we get to the next season. The one thing about this episode is it feels like a lot happened, but also at the same time, not a lot happened, where I feel like this video is going to be a little bit shorter because there's only so much to dive into, because then we go into the stuff with Lex Luthor and Bizzaro, which actually happened 33 days before, and we find out that, oh, he just didn't die. I thought the dude was zombie food, but instead he just got his ear ripped off, and then Lex Luthor started blasting Bizzaro with, I think that is just regular sunlight energy, because he's from the opposite Earth, he doesn't react the same way to the sunlight like Clark does. And it was cool to see Lex Luthor torturing Bizzaro, because every time he dies, he comes back stronger, which is what Doomsday is. They literally turned Bizzaro into Doomsday from the comics with just a couple different power sets, because he is Bizzaro. Bizzaro. And I think the way they did it was really well done, and this was more of the monstrous look of Doomsday that we needed. The design was so much better than the Batman v Superman one, and I think that they did a really good job designing how this character looked, especially with the S on its chest. But it was cool seeing the kind of montage of Lex just ending Bizzaro's life over and over, using different XK weapons as well as different sunlight weapons, until we got this really big monster of a character. And they even mentioned that he's kind of got something going on with him. It's making him stronger, referencing a Doomsday virus. They didn't say that directly, but it was definitely implied. So my theory for both of those things were correct, because eventually he became indestructible like Doomsday is. And I loved how he showed up, because Lex Luthor just comes onto the property and calls him with Superman's buzzer that he gave to Lois and his kids and Sam. So really awesome way to deal with this, and having him just come in as this hulking monster and getting ready to fight Superman. But he's able to fly and breathe fire because he is Bizzaro, which are two power sets that Doomsday doesn't usually have, but he's also not part Bizzaro when that happens. I still think the CGI standards for this episode were a lot better than it has been in the past, and it makes me wonder how they're going to deal with this next season, because they are cutting the budget. And I kind of wonder if they're cutting the budget, and the reason they had to cut all the cast members was so that they could afford the CGI for Doomsday. And it was a really awesome fight watching them fight each other, and I love how when Superman gets knocked over by his kids and all his friends, he tells them to stay back because he knows if they get involved, they will die. Like John Henry Irons will get wrecked and die right there and then. Superboy, good chance he's not going to make it out alive either. And it was pretty freaking sick to see him impale Doomsday on top of the tower, just to have Doomsday bring himself back up, because he is Doomsday and he cannot die that easily. And I totally thought during that fight, while Superman's getting his ass beat and slammed into the ground, they were about to do Death of Superman. Like, it seemed like they were setting that up from the very beginning, and unfortunately it didn't end like that. We had Superman remembering his family, getting the strength to fight back, throwing Bizzaro Doomsday to the moon, and having this epic fight on the moon until the episode ends, which I think was really disappointing. I think the season should have ended with the death of Superman, and the next season started with the reign of the Supermen. And it makes me wonder how the new season's gonna start. Is it going to start with Superman dying and the whole season will be the reign of Superman until Superman comes back for the final episode? Is it going to start mid-battle, or is it going to come back to the fight already being over, which would honestly suck, and then us getting flashbacks to how that battle ended? I'm really hoping the season does go over well, because it is shortened to 10 episodes, which I don't think is completely a bad thing, especially if you're going to spend that money on CG for Doomsday and have Lex Luthor be one hell of a villain. This season was really well done, and I think this season was also less of a Superman story and more of a Lois Lane story with a little bit of Superman mixed in. However, there's still so many things they have set up for the next season. We have Jordan that needs to officially become Superboy. I still think Jonathan's going to get powers at some point. It's still my theory. It just feels weird that one of the kids don't have it. I mean, it does make sense for his character, so he's kind of like his mom, where he has to be a hero in a different way. But I still feel like something's going to happen where he gains powers. I'm still surprised he didn't get them last season with the Bizzaro version of himself. I'm also really curious to see how they're going to be dealing with Doomsday Bizzaro and how they're going to end that storyline. Because right now it's looking like Superman's either going to have to kill him or send him away in order to pass him, and so far he's not able to kill him, so something else has to go down there. Maybe throw him into the Phantom Zone. We haven't seen that yet, and I'm curious. And Lex Luthor is a big threat, so it still makes me wonder if he will find out about Superman's secret identity and go after the family that way. Because he is going after Lois, there's going to be some pretty big drama there. And he plays a great Lex Luthor, so it's going to be awesome to see how more manipulating he is and how he can run the city from under their feet. This last episode was awesome. I just wish we got a little bit more action with Doomsday and ended without just mid-fight. But that scene on the moon did look awesome. What did you think of the final episode and how they treated Doomsday in this? Do you like the Doomsday Bizzaro version of him, or would you have rather had two separate characters for that? What was your favorite moment from this season, and what are you hoping to see continue next season with the side characters? I hope you enjoyed this video and all my Superman and Lois breakdowns. Thank you so much for watching these. Hopefully you stick around for my Doom Patrol ones and my Secret Invasion ones as well. It's going to be a bit till we get another DC TV show, so hopefully it doesn't take too long for Doom Patrol to come back. I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.